Okay, question one. Between which pair of decimals would 4/7 or 4/7 be placed on a number line? So I'm going to show you three different ways of answering this. The first one is to just estimate. Most likely you will not be able to use a calculator on a question like this. So what you should do in order to estimate is try to get it into numbers that you can deal with. So if you know you have half of something, right? Hopefully that's equal to 0.5. And so half of 7 will be 3.5. Okay? Um, and we have 4. We have 4/7. So hopefully you can see that our answer has to be greater than 0.5. So if x is like our answer, we want it to be greater than 0.5. And now what it's bounded by on the other end, we don't know. So it definitely cannot be A and B if you can get this far. So then you're guessing between these ones, and maybe you would guess maybe C. I think makes a little bit more sense as a guess. Um, so if you want to figure out how to actually do it, what you're going to have to do is do some division here. A fraction is a division problem, so we need to turn this into a decimal. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring this 7 out and divide it into 4. Okay, that's how you're going to figure this out. And well, how many times does 7 go into 4? It doesn't. And that's where the zeros come in up here on your answer choices. So use your answer choices to help guide you. So the fact that it doesn't go in there, we're going to put our decimal here. We can put a 0 here, and we can do it easily. So now it becomes 40. How many times does 7 go into 40? Well, it goes in 5 times. 5 times 7 is 35. Okay, so if we subtract 35 from 40, we're going to get 5 remaining. Again, we can borrow another 0, and it's not going to affect our answer yet. So this 0 comes down here and it becomes 50. How many times does 7 go into 50? Well, 7 times 7 is 49. So we put a 7 here, you get 49, and that's far enough. You can see 0.57 is in between 0.5 and 0.6. So if you did it, it would look like this. 0. Sorry. 0. Let me start over again. 0.5. And then larger than that, you would have 0.57. And then larger than that, you would have 0.6. And you could add on another 0 for 60. And you could put a 0 here for 50. Okay, so now you're looking at 0.5, 0.50, 0.57, and 0.60. You can add zeros to the end of a number and it doesn't impact it. So, again, you likely will not be able to use a calculator, but let me show you anyway how you could go about doing this. There is an N over D button where you can set up a fraction. N over D is your fraction. So if you wanted to, you could do 4 and then go down and then go 7 and then go over and hit enter. And you think, well, okay, great, that didn't help me much. But this double arrow here will convert between a fraction and a decimal. And there you can see it. It will also convert between a decimal and a fraction, and back and forth and back and forth. So this is useful in other parts of the test when you can use a calculator. Again, for this question, likely not going to be able to use a calculator. All right, question 2. Susan and Daphne are participating in a walkathon at the local community college track to raise money. Susan can walk around the track in 4 minutes. Daphne can walk around the track in 6 minutes. Susan and Daphne started walking at the same time. How many minutes will it be until they complete a lap at the same time? So, in other words, they're walking together around, like an oval track, and they're both starting at the exact same time, and they're going to walk around. And when will they hit the finish line again at the same time? That's the question. Okay, so really this is the least common multiple question. It's the least common multiple between Susan's 4 minutes a lap and Daphne's 6 minutes a lap. So if you look at our answer choices, 2, 10, 12, and 24, use these to guide your thinking. Okay, and so least common multiple, we want to see when these numbers, 4 and 6, will fit into these numbers. So the way you go about doing it is you just start counting by 4s. And over here, you're going to count by 6s. So if we count by 4, we'll go 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. That's probably as far as we need to go. If we go to 6, we'll go 6, 12, 18, 24. Now, again, you want to look for the least common numbers. Well, 12 is your least common number. So if they're both walking at the exact same, at the speed that they indicated here, they will cross again on Susan's third lap and on Daphne's second lap. Okay? So, but they're not asking for the number of laps. They're asking for how many minutes we'll have completed, and it's 12, which is C. They also will cross again at 24. So, but again, that's not the first time. They'll cross at 12 is the first time. So, okay, question 3. Simplify this expression. So in parentheses, you got 2 to the 9th times 3 to the 5th, parentheses, times, parentheses again, 2 to the 4th times 3, and then parentheses, and then that second parentheses is squared. So if you look at your answer choices, you're not actually going to solve this for a whole number. You're going to leave it in its exponent form, where you got these smaller superscript numbers here are exponents. And so, if you look, we immediately kind of have a question posed to us. Hopefully you see the 2 and the 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So you have 2 and 3 separated here, or they're combined. So that's your first question. Can we combine these 2 and the 3 and multiply them together and end up with just the exponent on the 6? And the answer is no. In other words, you can treat this effectively as, in parentheses, x to the 9th times y to the 5th times x to the 4th times y and all of that squared. You hopefully know you cannot combine x's and y's. Well, these 2's and 3's are the same way. So hopefully immediately you're getting rid of a and b. And now you've got a good chance to guess. So now we just need to figure out how can we combine the 2's and how can we combine the 3's. We will follow PEMDAS down here. So let's go ahead and tackle these exponents that are affecting the parentheses first. Okay, so what's happening here is this is effectively 2 to the 4th times 2 to the 4th, and then this times 3 times 3. Okay, that's how you can kind of think of this, right? So 2 to the 4th, if we look at a rule down here, well, 2 to the 4th times or ax times ay, we add them. That's the multiplication rule. So we're going to add this 4 to this 4 and get 8. So in other words, it's 2 and 4 plus 4, which is going to give us 2 to the 8th. Over here, we don't normally write it, but it's there. It's implied that these are 1s. So for the same reason here, this is going to be 3 and 1 plus 1, which is 2. So now we've got 3 with a 2 here. So that's how we simplify this one here on the right. This one over here is already in that same format. So 2 to the 9th times 3 to the 5th. Okay, so since nothing's impacting on the outside, these parentheses, we can get rid of them. And so if we do that, then we can combine the 2's and combine the 3's. So let's get rid of these. If it's 2 to the 9th times 3 to the 5th times 2 to the 8th times 3 to the 2nd are squared. So let's combine the 2's. So we're going to get 2 to the 9th times 2 to the 8th, and that's the equivalent of 2 and 9 plus 8, which is going to be 2 to the 17th. Okay, and let's do the same for these 3's. So this is going to be 3, sorry, my pen's messing with me here, 3 to the 5th times 3 to the 2nd, which is equal to 3, 5 plus 2. just adding these exponents, which is 5 plus 2, 7. So 3 to the 7th, and then we still have this multiplication here the whole time. So 2 to the 17th times 3 to the 7th. That is our answer choice. Question 4. The points -4 and 5 are plotted on a number line. What is the distance in units between the 2 points? So this is a good one to actually draw a number line. So you got 0 here, and you got -1, -2, -3, -4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we want is the point from here to here, the distance, okay? And it's just as simple as counting the steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So our answer is D, 9. To be honest though, I've seen enough GED problems. I don't think they ask it this easy. This is normally an absolute value problem. And what would you say here if the question was, points 4 and 5 are plotted on a number line, which answer below represents the distance between the 2 points? Okay, and now it's a little bit more difficult. You've got to figure out, well, how are the ways that we can get 9? Okay, so again, I'm doing just an extension here. So how you can think of it is it's the absolute value. The reason why it's the absolute value, I counted from here. I counted in this direction, and the answer was 9. If I count in this direction, guess what? The answer is also 9. So whether you do -4 minus 5, or you do, let me do it over here, 5 minus a -4, you're going to get the same answer. So watch this. These are absolute value signs, okay? First rule is that whenever you subtract, you want to add the opposite, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this -4 and I'm going to add. This is like implied a positive here. So if I add the opposite, I have to turn this into a negative. So now it's -4 plus a -5. So you're taking something negative and you're adding on more negative, which is going to make it a -9. Well, the absolute value of -9 is just 9. Over here, same thing. You got a subtraction, so whenever we subtract, we're going to add the opposite. So 5 plus a +4. If you add and then change this to the opposite sign, 5 plus 4 is the absolute value of 9. The absolute value of 9, again, is just 9. So if you look over here, which answer fits? Well, this one doesn't fit. -4 minus a -5, because we don't have -5. We have +5. So that one's wrong. B, -4 minus 5. Yes, that was originally this one. -4 minus 5. That's this one here. We just wrote the positive. So your answer here would be B. C is wrong because 4 is not negative here. Whenever you're finding the difference or the distance in between, you have to subtract. Okay? You have to subtract. So this subtraction sign is not tied to this negative sign. This is +5 minus +4. Okay, and hopefully you can see 5 minus 4, the answer is really 1. Okay, the absolute value of 1 is 1. And then 9 minus 4 is just a distractor. 9 minus 4 would be the absolute value of 9 minus 4 would be the absolute value of 5, which is equal to 5. So the only one that's going to actually get you 9 is B. So be on the lookout for these absolute value. Again, just drawing an extension to this question 4. Alright, question 5. Simplify this expression. So we have 12 plus 15 divided by 3 times 6 minus 1. So if your answer choices, we are going to come up with an answer here, so we are going to have to solve this. Here's PEMDAS. PEMDAS is the acronym that you use that gives you the order of operations. So we have to do parentheses first, then exponents. There are no parentheses here. Notice I've written multiply and divide on the same line. Same with add and subtract. it is possible for division to come before multiplication. It is all what happens in order from left to right. Same with addition and subtraction. So if you look at this, here's an addition, 12 plus 15. Then we have division next. And sure enough, we are actually going to divide. These are the steps we're going to take. First thing we're going to do is division, the 15 divided by 3. And then we're going to multiply that answer, which is 5, times 6. Then we will do addition. Then we'll do a subtraction. So let me show you this whole thing. So again, first step is division. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay, so there's your division. So now we have 12 plus 5 times 6 minus 4. Now we're going to do multiplication. This one here, 5 times 6, which is 30. So now we've got 12 plus 30 minus 4. Then we're going to do addition. 12 plus 30 is 42. And now minus 4, 42 minus 4 is 38, which is our answer, C. Okay. Number 6. You've got add 3 radical 7 plus radical 7. Well, let's look at the rules down here. Here's an example that I pulled off the web. If you have 6 radical 15 plus 2 radical 15 plus 3 radical 15, you can actually think of the radicals as x's. So you would add the 6 and the 2 and the 3 together and then put x on the end. So the answer down here would be 11 radical 15. Just like here, the answer is 11x. Okay, so this one is just a matter of doing 4 radical 7 because you got your 3 radical 7 plus we don't normally write the 1, but we can apply it. So it's actually going to be 3 plus 1 radical 7, which is 4 radical 7. Oh, sorry. 4 radical 7, which is A. Okay. Number 7. Which expression is undefined in a set of real numbers? Alright, I'm not going to dive too deep into real versus imaginary versus other different types of numbers. I just want to focus on this idea of undefined. And I'm also going to kind of, maybe to the ire of math teachers, I'm going to say undefined, what we mean is it's weird. Okay? It just doesn't make sense. Okay? Things that we just don't really understand them, okay? But they exist in math, all right? It's possible in math. So when you get a question like this, you want to just go and see, okay, which one of these are weird or which one of them don't make sense. So let's look at the square root of -4, okay? Well, let's make an extension. What if we had the square root of just +4? Well, there's two ways that we could get that. That would be equal to 2 times 2 would be equal to 4. So, or you could have -2 times -2 is also equal to 4. So the square root of 4 could be equal to 2 or -2, right? Either way we can get this answer. But how do we get the square root of -4? Well, if you think about it, 2 times 2 is +4. -2 times -2 is also +4. Well, what if you do 2 times -2? That will get you -4, but guess what? These are different numbers. So this is a weird number. It's undefined. The only way it works is if you start using imaginary numbers in here, which I don't really want to dive into. So this one's weird. This one doesn't exist. This is wrong. Because again, they're different numbers. So our answer is going to be this one. Now if you look at this one, can you have 0 over -4? Well, yeah, you can have a negative number and have nothing of it. A fraction is just a part over a whole. If you're saying you don't have any parts of something, that exists. Don't be confused. If you do have 4 over 0, which is not here, this will be undefined. Okay, because what you're saying, again, is you have a part of something, you have 4 of something where the whole doesn't exist, or the total is equal to 0. So this one's undefined, but don't be confused with that. That's not what this one is. And 0 to the 4 would be the same as 0 times 0 times 0 times 0, which is in fact equal to 0. That can happen. And you can have negative 4 times 0. That's equal to 0 as well. That can happen as well. The only one that doesn't work is A. All right. Number 8. A store charges $6.96 for a case of mineral water. Each case contains 2 boxes of mineral waters. Each box contains 4 bottles of water. This is a good one to draw a picture. So let's draw a case. So we've got one case. Here's our case. And inside that case, each case contains 2 boxes. So here's our 2 boxes. There's one box, and here's another box. And then each box contains 4 bottles. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have $6.96. It's going to cost you $6.96 for 8 bottles. Alright, so let's just say you don't have a calculator. Hopefully, if you even just simplify this, this is roughly $7, right? Roughly $7. Sorry, my pen, I don't know why it does that. So hopefully you can see 7 over 8 is not quite 1. So the only answer that really is going to work is going to be A. If you do have a calculator, well, let's just do that. Let's clear this. You would do 6.96 divided by 8. And that's going to be 87 cents. Okay? So that is the answer. Alright, number 9. A scale drawing of a house uses a scale where 0.5 inches equals 2 feet. So you got 0.5 equals 2 feet. Okay, inches. Let's put an I in there. Okay. What is the length in inches of a line? So in other words, x is going to be our inches. What is the length in inches? That's x. Of a line on the scale drawing that represents an actual length of 5 feet. So we've got this, 2 over 5, and then what we want are the inches. We want inches, and they've given us feet. Okay, so there's a couple ways of doing this. One is you cross multiply. So if I use this color and we're going to multiply in this direction, this is going to be 0.5 times 5 on one side equals, and then let me use black, you've got x times 2 or 2 times x, however you want to think of it. That's going to be x times 2, which is going to be equal to 2x. Okay? And 0.5 times 5, hopefully, so you're looking at 0.5 is half of something, so half of 5 is 2.5. So now we have 2.5 equals x. So what's happening to x here is it's being multiplied by 2. So we want to undo what's happening to x, so we're going to divide by 2. And divide by 2. These will cancel out or become 1, and we don't normally write the 1, we just write x. So x is equal to 2.5 divided by 2. Okay, so in other words, how many times does 2 go into 2.5? It goes in one time, right? 2 will fit into 2.5 one time. So if you look at your answer choices, there's only one that could fit, and it's A, 1.25. 2.5 won't work, 10 won't work, 20 won't work. So your answer is going to be 1.25, and there's a couple ways. And assuming you had a calculator, you could do it just by doing 2.5 divided by 2, and you would get 1.25. The other way is to figure out your scale factor. Okay, so if you go from 0.5 and you scale in this direction to get to 2, you would have to multiply by 4. Okay, because if you take how many halves are in 2? Well, there's 4 of them. Okay, so if you start with 5 and you had to go back in this direction, so go in the other direction, you would use the same scale factor, but you would divide by 4. So it would be 5 divided by 4, which again, you could do the math longhand, or if you had a calculator, you could do 5 divided by 4. you're going to get the same answer, 0.25. So this is using a scale factor. This is cross multiplying. Either one will work. Okay, question 10. The price of Veronica's meal before tax and tip was $11.92. Veronica paid 8% sales tax, then added a 15% tip to the total. To the nearest cent, how much did Veronica pay for her meal? Okay, so if we start with this, my pen get active here. Alright, so what we've got is we have $11.92. This is the total. This is how much her meal was. And then what we're going to have to do is she has to pay tax on that. Okay, so there's tax, which is 8% of $11.92. Then when you add that up, that's going to equal an answer. Okay, and we get that answer. She is going to pay tax on this. She's going to tip on this. Tip on, in other words, the total plus tax. Now this is debatable. Sometimes people don't tip on tax. Knowing what the answer is, they want us to tip on tax. So let's go ahead and find out what the tax is. So 8% of $11.92. So in the calculator, assuming you can use the calculator, you could enter in 0.08. That will convert the percentage into a decimal. You can do that. I also normally encourage my students to actually use the percent buttons. So if you see 8 and you type in second, and this button right there is the percent button. So this is the calculator that you can use on the GED, and there's a percent button. You can see the percent symbol there. Of means multiply, so we're going to find 8% of $11.92. Which is $95, 95 cents, and you should round down to 95 cents because of the 3 would modify when you're rounding, and it's less than 5, so it's going to be 95. Alright, so we're going to add 95 cents to this. If you have a calculator, you might as well use it. So you would do $11.92 plus those 95, let's gotta have a decimal there, plus 95 cents. And that equals $12.87. Okay, so now we're going to tip on top of this. So tip and total tax, which is going to be 15% of 12.87. Okay, so let's go, and what we're going to do, that answer we will add to here, and then this will give us our total and our answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's take, again, 15%. You could do 0.15. I encourage students to actually do the percent sign. That way you're more likely to get it right. Times 12.87. Hit enter, and you get $1.93. So let's add that here, $1.93. And so now we're going to add these up here together, and let's see what we get. Again, continue using the calculator. If you have the calculator there, take the time and use the calculator. It will slow you down a bit and cause you to think, and most importantly, tend to get the right answer more frequently. Okay, so we add in the $12.87 plus $1.93, and we get 14.8. Our answer is 14.8. So hopefully you realize it has to be 14.80, because you can add a 0 onto something without changing its value. So our answer is D. Again, this is kind of an important word here, then. So meaning that she effectively tipped on top of the tax, as we've done here.